This program is brought to you by KLW Art, creating original and custom hand-painted oil paintings. Visit us online at klwart.com. Hi, I'm Kevin Wagner. Welcome back to my studio. Today we're going to do another fun little painting that I hope you'll enjoy. And so let's take a look at what I've got going on up here at the canvas, and I'll run the colors that I'm going to be using across the bottom of the screen. So what I've got in mind for today's painting is, since Halloween's coming up here very shortly, is kind of a nighttime haunted house kind of painting. Basically have a full moon up in here and haunted house, an abandoned house over this way, a couple bare trees, some background woods over in here. Maybe a road coming across here with a fence, and see what we can come up with here. So, first thing we're going to do is get a little bit, I've already got the canvas covered with the black gesso and liquid clear, and I'm going to load the 2-inch brush with Midnight Black and Phthalo Blue. And with the liquid clear, we can just put a little glaze of this on here. You'll see why we're putting this on here in a little bit. So we'll come up here and it's kind of hard to see probably on camera, but this will come out okay. This is primarily for the sky, but I'll go ahead and cover the entire canvas. So. Looks pretty good. So now, clean the brush and paint thinner. Scrub it into the bucket with a thinner. Use the paint with the bristles. Press the brush against the side of the bucket to squeeze out the excess. Shake her off, and we'll beat the devil out of it. So, first thing we're going to do now, we need to brighten up an area of the sky for the moon. So we take a 2-inch brush, and we're going to tap that into some titanium white. Here, and right about in here is where I want the moon to be, so we'll go ahead, start in the middle of where you're lightening it up, and then gradually work your way outward. You always want to work outward, because if you go back in towards the center, you're going to lose that bright center. brighten this up just a touch more. Before we do that, we're going to clean the brush off again, or this 1-inch brush off, I should say. I already got the 2-inch brush clean. And then squeeze out the excess, shake it off, and beat the devil out of it. Now, if you're ever curious as to why I use the brush breeder rack rather than beating my brush on the leg of the easel, take a look at this picture. And this is from before I cleaned out my beater rack. If it wasn't for that beater rack down the bottom of that trash can, all of that paint would have been splattered all over the walls here in my basement. So, but that's why you want to use a brush beater rack rather than, unless you're painting outside, but still outside it would still go all over. So we're going to have some trees down here. I want those kind of to look like they're backlit. Carry this right on over. Let this fade out into the darkness. So, go ahead and clean this off. So now, let's take a blender brush. This is a nice soft blender brush. Make sure the nothing's on the bristles. And just go back in here and blend this out. So remove all the brush strokes, make this nice, silky smooth. So it's like a nighttime sky now. It's dry, and we'll let it lay. There we go. So now, do a little finger painting. Some titanium white on my finger, and I'm just going to draw in a nice foam in there. Looks pretty good. You want to make your moon quite round. Go ahead and add a little bit more titanium white, just to brighten it up just a little bit more. You want to make sure your moon is round. because you can use your brushes too to make a moon. I just prefer to use my index finger, it's a little faster. And I wouldn't recommend using a palette knife, because palette knife would be, unless you're doing a Picasso, square moon wouldn't look too good. So now we want to do some stringy clouds right up in here, just to kind of give a little effect of maybe storm brewing off in the distance and stuff. So let's go ahead and we're going to go back into the Phthalo Blue and Midnight Black. That's the base color for the clouds. We're going to use the number 6 fan brush for these. Yeah, I've got the brush loaded pretty good. A little bit more Midnight Black, I think. Come in here. Yeah, I'll just some little clouds to add to the atmosphere of this night sky. And we had to add a little bit of that base color into titanium white. And actually we'll use a number 3 fan brush for that. It's a highlight color. Some of these clouds were pretty close to the moon. Just add some little highlights. Gently blend these down into the base colors. It's going to look kind of spooky already. Now we don't want to do the clouds that are out here, because those aren't really as lit up as the ones right there by the moon. So we'll leave these kind of dark. They'll still show up once the painting's dry. But then over here, those will look like they're lit up by the full moon. So I think that'll do it for our sky. So now we're going to do these background trees that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. And for that, we're going to go ahead and use some Prussian blue, midnight black, Midnight brown, alizarin crimson, and sap green. Mix a nice little batch of that. We have a palette. Basically just looking for a nice dark color. A friend of mine watching the last video commented about not being able to see me work on the palette. Lately, anymore when I paint, I just find it a lot easier to have both hands free. So that's why I have the palette sitting down. Of course, I only have one camera, and no one's shooting the video for me. I have it on a tripod, so as a result, unfortunately I can't fully show what I'm doing on the or on the palette. But basically, when I'm mixing the paints, I'm using the palette knife, and I mix them up. I scrape up everything, turn it over, and then continue mixing it. A little more midnight black in this. This, we're going to go ahead and use the round brush. I love this brush. It's really good for background trees. And I'm just going to tap that into this mix that I made. Got the brush loaded nice and full. So then I'll come up here, and I just tap in some background trees. And you start at the bottom basically and work your way up, and that causes the trees to thin out as they go up towards the top. Because down below, at the bottom of the tree, it's all thick, shadowed, and everything, and so looks pretty good. This is pretty dark over here. Some of these will show up. So now, what we're going to do, and lighter brush here. We're going to thin this color that we used for these background trees. We're going to add a few little suggestions of trunks back here. This would be late in the year. These trees are going to be losing their leaves. Called skeleton trees. They're all bare. Over here I'm not going to worry about putting the trunks in because over here it's backlit and the trunks wouldn't show up as like they would over here on this side. So come on, off the side there. Looking too bad. Don't want a whole lot of detail on these trees, just enough to indicate that there's something back there. So. Now, try a technique that I saw Bob Ross do. It made some really nice effects. Clear off a little spot here. The reason I didn't put a lot of the trees in here too is because this is about the area where the house is going to be put in. So go ahead and take the blender brush again and we'll tap that into some titanium white, just one corner. Put in some ground fog in here. Get a little foggy back here. We can even this out then when we put the grass in. thing again as usual. So. Let's make this quite misty. That. I'll go ahead and let's get a 2-inch brush here. We'll go into that dark color. We'll just even this ground out here. So now, we're going to go ahead and get started on the grass for back in the background here, because some of this is going to be lit up, so we'll go ahead and see, do some black, cad yellow, a little bit of sap earth. Black. Tapping in some grassy color. A little bit of other yellows too. Looks pretty good. So now we'll go ahead and get started on the abandoned house over here. that, let's see here. Go ahead and scrape out the shape of the house here. Hear how hard I'm scraping into. Basically that removes excess paint and kind of gives you a perspective of how you want the house to be laid out. So with that, do some Van Dyke Brown and Midnight Black. A nice dark base color for this house. A roll of paint, and then let's go ahead and we'll do the back eave of the roof first. And then bring this down. Just have this house sitting back a little ways from the road, and this will look good here. If you're wondering where I got the idea for this odd house idea, it's actually from some road trips I used to take down to North Carolina to visit a friend of mine down there. And I used to take US 35 into West Virginia, and back when it was a 2-lane road, there used to be this old abandoned 2-story house on the south side of the road, and it just looked something straight out of a horror movie. It is spooky during the day. I was on my way down, and there are no windows or anything on this house. There are just openings where the windows used to be. And then coming home at night from my trips down there, you'd see this house and there was one outside light, and it was like one place you did not want to break down because it just looked spooky as heck. So that's the base color. We're going to do like a gray roof here for shingles on the roof here. And go ahead and so let's see here. titanium white mixed and lighten it up. So this is going to be the highlight side. I don't want it to be too bright, but I want a little bit of light from this moon to be hidden. So we smooth that out. A little roll. Actually, we'll just bring this right on down. Sharpen this edge up a little bit. Then, on the darker side, obviously not as much light's going to be hitting that side, but you're going to have this full moon, so go ahead. Should be a little darker, but I'll have to redo this eve up here at the top. So I've got a little this color on it. I'm just going to do it like a small knife. Makes it a little bit better on tight spots. So now, take some titanium white, a little bit of midnight black, do these shingles up here on the roof. A little bit more of a roll here. So the roof's seen better days, that's for sure. edge work over on this side. So now we need some windows for the ghosts to look out of. So, clean the knife off. And we're just going to use the small edge of the knife. And go ahead and put in some windows here. Door there. A couple windows over here this side too. Maybe an attic window up here. And since we want this to be abandoned, I'll clear off a spot here. We're just going to make the openings for these windows and door nice and dark. Little midnight black. Just darken those up. I intentionally did not put anything in the attic window because what I'm going to do is a little. I'm going to add some slats in these boards. Should have done this before the doors and windows were put in. It's the nice thing about oil painting is it's a very forgiving medium. to do something, you can always go back in and start over or correct it. Almost always. Sometimes it's possible. Like I said in my last video, first painting I tried, I put too much liquid white on it, and before starting the painting, highlights of my mountains started sliding off with the palette knife. And you get to that point, it's best to just stop, think about what went wrong, and learn from it, and move on. So now, to get a little spooky flavor, spot of my palette here. And get some cad yellow. It's supposed to be an abandoned house, but every night when there's a full moon, maybe there's a light on up in the attic. No one knows why. There's never been power to the house for years, so when there's a full moon, that attic light just lights up. Bob Ross said you have to make little stories to make things just work right. So now, come back in here, we'll do a housectomy. It's rather spooky. Go ahead and get started on the rest of the painting now. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to have a little way to get back to this house, even though it's abandoned. Maybe some ghost hunters are going to come in and investigate. Go back into the Van Brown, dark sienna, touch of titanium white. And just add a little path to go back there. Meantime, we'll go ahead and get some more sap green, midnight black, and a bit of cad yellow. Go ahead and get dark back in here. It's really looking spooky. I wouldn't want to go there at that time of night, that's for sure. So now, light in a couple trees, some bigger trees here. With those, clean off the spot here. This we'll do some sap green, Alizarin crimson, brown color, some Van Dyke brown to it as well. Nice dark brown color. Mix this up pretty thoroughly. So now, I'm going to use the filbert brush for this, and we're going to load up both sides nice and thick, a lot of paint. And I'm just going to come in here and big old raggedy tree here. Paint's quite thick going on here, so and we'll do another one over on this side too. Yes, I do occasionally at times do the sound effects that Bob Ross used to do. It does sometimes help. So now, those in. Actually, let's see here. Get some midnight or some titanium white added to this. Add a little highlight. And I'll be able to around this hip to it. this one in the back, like it's coming off the back of the tree. Gently fade this into the trunk so it gives a little bit of roundness. This one over here, I'll make this one a little bit darker, I think, for the highlight. Not so much titanium white. Doesn't look half bad. So now, I'm going to clean this brush off. One thing too you might have noticed in my videos is when I'm painting I am wearing latex gloves to basically keep the paint off my hands. The Bob Ross company, they do make hand lotion. It's called a painter's glove. That you can, basically it's a hand lotion that you put on your hands, and then when you go to wash your hands, the paint comes right off. Only problem with that for me is my bathroom sink's upstairs, so I can't really wash my hands or get upstairs very easily with paint in my hands to wash them. So let's see, go ahead and do a dark brown color. Add some paint thinner. And we're going to add some limbs and stuff out here on these branches. So that way when spring comes around, all the leaves have some place to sit. So across the moon. Not quite. Of course, it wouldn't hurt to have one come across the moon. Set the moon back into the sky. Of course, it's It's about pretty well right now, so. Helps to have a little bit of a twitch in your hand when you do these limbs. Helps give them a little character, and plus since these are Halloween trees, you want a little twisted in their limbs. And some people might think this is a little tedious to do, but when the whole painting comes together, all these little details really add to it, I think. Looks pretty good for that one. Now we'll go ahead and take care of this one here. I'm going to make these lines a little darker, since obviously the moon's not hitting it as directly as it is on the right side. So. So now, go ahead and we're going to go back into the grass color. We're going to touch up the feet on these trees. Just stepping down into the grass. It's looking pretty good. Now we just got the road and think maybe a fence along the road too would be nice too. And put some grass here in the foreground. So let's go ahead and we're now going to go ahead and clear off a little spot here to work. Just get rid of some of the thin color we used for the branches. And go ahead and do the filbert brush again for, just load it with Bandak Brown, both sides. Got a nice sharp point, pretty much, and then we're going to go one side through a bit of titanium white and dark sienna. So we want the light side towards the moon, and oops, it's actually coming out darker than I wanted it, or lighter than I wanted it to. Since this is an old house, we're going to make some of these a little crooked. We're on this side. This up. This side. So now do the same thing for the rails, only this time the light side's going to go up. Make 2 rail fins. Down here like that. Now this side we'll do the same thing. So now, what we'll do, some more of that green color that we used for the grass. We'll chop off these bottom of the posts to even them out. Go ahead and do the road across here now. That will take some Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, and some of the titanium white. Not too much of the titanium white though. Just going to make this kind of marbled. A little darker. There we go. Now, go ahead actually get the fan brush and extend this sidewalk out, or this walkway out to the road. I'm going to go over this grass here a little bit more, just to darken it. Dull this down. Grass over on this side too. So that'll help set the road, everything back into the painting. And we'll go ahead and put grass in on the rest of this. sap green and cad yellow. And black. Looks rather spooky. Actually, I'm going to take a little bit and dip around. Just gently add a little bit more dark color in here. Just to roughen up that red a little bit, make it a little more like a just an old abandoned road that no one uses anymore. Except when they come out to a ghost hunt. And actually, I think I'm going to go ahead I'm going to go ahead and a few little sticks and twigs in here. Let's see. dark green here. Weeds growing up around these fence posts. Just about have a finished painting. Another thing you might have noticed too is every once in a while I look off to the your right off camera. I'm actually looking at the clock because my digital camera only records up to 25 minutes at a time. So I don't want to be in the middle of something and the camera cuts out because it doesn't let me know when it stops recording. So with that, I think we are ready for signature. Got a little bright red. And with that, I think we'll call this painting finished. So, hopefully you enjoyed this one. It's a fun little painting to do. So, let me know if you see, have any suggestions as to what you'd like to see me paint. And, don't forget to check out my website for the other paintings I've done. And if you're interested in buying any of my paintings, let me know. And, prices are on my website. So, with that, we'll call this one finished. And I hope you enjoyed it. Happy painting. This program was brought to you by KLW Art, creating original and custom hand-painted oil paintings. Visit us online at klwart.com.